Celebrating 49 years on the air, award-winning Farm Week is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farm Week, another test of the president's power, the Supreme Court taking a closer look. In Southern Gardening, Eddie Smith takes a fancy to ferns, proof that shade can be bright in its own way. In the markets, a Mississippi town calls itself the sweet potato capital of the world. We'll butter you up with the details. And in our feature, we announce the Mississippi Loggers of the Year. Farm Week starts right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach Ashmore.
And I'm Mike Russell. Good to have you with us again here on Farm Week. You may have heard the Supreme Court put the president's tariffs under scrutiny. The president saying a negative ruling, whenever that's handed down, months maybe, would be, in his opinion, devastating for the country. David Miller reports.
The Supreme Court was the side of the highest level legal challenge to President Donald Trump's sweeping tariff agenda. The case centers on whether or not Trump can use the nearly 50-year-old International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose tariffs. The justices expressed skepticism that he has this power to use the major questions doctrine, the same policy former President Joe Biden tried when offering partial forgiveness to student loan debt. The president has warned that the United States will be rendered defenseless and possibly reduced to almost third world status if the Supreme Court strikes down the tariffs he imposed this year on nearly every country on earth.
But if you look at China, by putting a large 100% tariff over and above the tariffs they already paid, they came to the table, they talked, we made a wonderful deal for everybody. Our farmers, as you know, with the soybeans at levels that nobody's ever seen before, we were able to make phenomenal deals. If we didn't have the tariffs, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So
then do you agree then that Americans are paying those tariffs?
I think, no, I don't agree. I think that they might be paying something, but when you take the overall impact, the Americans are gaining tremendously. They're gaining through national security. Look, I'm ending war because of these tariffs.
The result of the arguments won't likely be revealed for several weeks or even months. Tariffs won't likely be going away. Trump could impose tariffs under other statutes, but there would be limitations slowing speed and blocking severity. Before their day in court, the White House released a long list of what the U.S. and China agreed to last week in South Korea. Included were a Chinese suspension of limits on the export of rare earth elements and an increase in imports of U.S. agricultural products. This includes a 12 million ton purchase of U.S. soybeans over the next 2 months. In recent days, China has purchased American wheat, but has yet to purchase any beans. Brazil, however, has sold 20 cargoes bound for Chinese ports. Despite the truce, any new loads of soybeans will still be subject to a 13% import tariff. The U.S., among other moves, agreed to lower tariffs on Chinese imports imposed to curb the flow of fentanyl by 10 percentage points for the next year. But a 10% reciprocal tariff will remain in effect.
Congratulations! The American Food and Agriculture Pavilion is now officially open.
Even with import duties still in place, U.S. businesses opened a showcase in Shanghai to continue promoting American agricultural products.
And I think we've sort of turned a page, and there are new opportunities now. And I think from our U.S. soybean industry, we're very pleased. You know, we expected that this was a short-term bump in the road, but now we're very happy to have the opportunity for our U.S. soy from our 500,000 soybean farmers to be coming back into China.
China remains the world's largest buyer of soybeans. In 2024, the Middle Kingdom purchased nearly half of all U.S. soybean exports.
We don't like tariffs. Tariffs are not good for anybody, and certainly there will be no winners in a trade war.
50 years ago this week, the well-known sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald in Lake Superior, made legendary by the late Gordon Lightfoot. Now, half a century later, shipping from the coasts has always been popular, but the Great Lakes region has turned into a new favorite. Laura Weber Davis has that story.
Since 2020, backups at ports in the Atlantic and Pacific coasts have left cargo ships stacked up, waiting to unload in the U.S. And rising fuel costs, congested highways, and a shortage of truck drivers are also creating headaches for businesses wanting to get their goods in or out of the U.S. interior. And they're looking for other options. Will Friedman is president and CEO of the Port of Cleveland.
The companies that need to move these goods, either as a manufacturer or as a retailer, they're pretty desperate. And so, necessity is the mother of invention, and they're now asking, much more so than previously, why can't we get a ship into Cleveland and just avoid all that gridlock at those big ports?
But rerouting cargo from congested coastal ports to Cleveland isn't so simple. On the Great Lakes, freighters mainly move bulk cargoes like iron ore, grain, and coal that are loaded loose into the ship's holds. But globally, most cargo is moved in containers. Great Lakes freighters and the ports they visit aren't really set up to handle large shipments in containers, but that may be changing. In 2014, the Port of Cleveland saw an opportunity and developed the first container service on the Great Lakes to handle import and export cargo. In partnership with Dutch company Spleethoff, they created the Cleveland Europe Express with a regularly scheduled route between Cleveland and Antwerp. The Peyton Lynn C, a small container ship, travels out of the St. Lawrence Seaway and across the Atlantic. The trip takes approximately 14 days, with a few days in each port to unload. And the opportunity to move other types of cargo on the Great Lakes in containers is providing new, cost-effective transportation solutions for some shippers.
It actually does help with cost for a ship to come all the way into Cleveland, because the longer you keep cargo on the water, the more economical it is. It's also a greener form of transportation.
And according to Friedman, shipping through Cleveland avoids the delays that can happen at congested ocean ports. And Cleveland isn't the only Great Lakes port that's looking to expand its container shipping. The port of Duluth Superior is the largest port on the Great Lakes by tonnage, including the twin ports of Duluth, Minnesota, and Superior, Wisconsin. And it's making waves in container shipping. Deb DeLuca is the executive director of the Duluth Seaway Port Authority.
From here, you can reach major markets such as the Twin Cities, Fargo, Des Moines, also Milwaukee, and even down to Chicago. So from a logistics standpoint, that's very attractive.
Great Lakes ports are also looking into new options like a feeder service where containers are offloaded in bigger ports and transported along the St. Lawrence Seaway in smaller vessels, similar to what is done in Europe. Both the ports of Cleveland and Duluth expect to move more shipping containers in the coming year.
On the lighter side, no pun intended, this week's Southern Gardening is about ferns, which generate late year color even in shade. Here's Dr. Eddie Smith.
Shaded gardens don't have to be plain. Today on Southern Gardening, we are exploring some fancy ferns to add beauty, texture, and movement to your landscape. One of my favorites is the Japanese painted fern. Its fronds are brushed with silver and accented with burgundy veins, almost like a hand-painted watercolor. This fern stays low, only about 12 to 18 inches tall, and thrives in consistently moist soil. It's a fantastic choice for adding a pop of cool silver color in the shade. By contrast, the southern wood fern grows tall with upright arching fronds that can reach 3 feet in height. Being a native, it's tough, dependable, and perfect for naturalized plantings under trees. Its bright green fronds at a bold texture that really fills the shady space. It looks great lining a brick pathway garden in the landscape. And then there's the graceful maiden hair fern. Its wiry black stems hold fan-shaped leaflets that look delicate but are surprisingly resilient if kept moist. It loves humidity and filtered light, and it gives a soft, airy quality that feels almost magical in the garden. It's happiest in filtered shade and thrives in woodland beds, containers, or even tucked near a water feature where the air stays damp. These fancy ferns prove that shade gardens can be just as colorful and full of character as sunny flower beds. I'm Eddie Smith. I look forward to seeing you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a break right here, but don't go away. Coming up, we announced the 2025 Mississippi Logger of the Year. Timber is now the state's #2 ag commodity. Nearly 20 million acres of forested land, about 2/3 of all the land in the state. Somebody has to harvest all that wood, and one of them is this year's top logger, a company in business for more than 2 decades. This team has a reputation like few others. The Mississippi Logger of the Year, coming up on Farm Week. Don't go away.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations, and their faith. I believe in intellectual freedom to search for and present the truth without bias and with courteous tolerance toward the views of others. I believe that education is a lifelong process, and the greatest university is the home. That my success as a teacher is proportional to those qualities of mind and spirit that give me welcome entrance to the homes of the families I serve. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
Walk across the great state of Mississippi with us. Join the Walk Mississippi and Live Healthy, One Step at a Time program. The Mississippi State University Extension Service is offering this virtual challenge for individuals of any age or teams of family, colleagues, students, church members, or any other group. We're walking 180 miles in 6 weeks, or about 8,000 steps per day, from October 11th to November 21st. Get fit and feel better. Eat healthier, manage your weight, and exercise regularly. There's no fee required, and you'll join our virtual community support group on Facebook and our weekly email list to get health education tips, nutritious recipes, and video demos. Fit more physical activity into your schedule and learn more about the benefits of eating healthy. Visit msuext.ms/walkms to learn more and register today.
Time for the market report. Prices still trending down, but not in a big way.
We'll talk to some extension experts about it and more. But first, the numbers. What were the week's biggest gains and losses? And then, in our row report, economists Will Maples and Brian Mills fill us in on what's moving the markets. And finally, a closer look at a fall staple, the sweet potato. So, markets closed trending down again. Grain's the only real gain, once again as well. Let's take a look. The week's biggest gain, lumber up 38.5 bucks, more than a 7% increase from the previous week. The week's biggest loss, live cattle down almost 8.5 cents. That's more than a 3.5% decrease from the previous week. This week in our row report, we continue our talk with Dr. Will Maples, this time about what we expect from the USDA after the shutdown ends. We also speak with Dr. Brian Mills about what farmers need to do this time of year.
My biggest thing I'm really interested in when we finally get reports back to see where that corn yield number comes in at. See how big of a crop we are actually dealing with in terms of having to get rationed out throughout the rest of the year. Because we've had really good exports on corn. We've got really good ethanol demand. We have really good feed demand on corn. If that supply side can come down just a little bit, I think it'd be a good price boost to the market. So just what I'm looking forward to the most in these next reports whenever we get them back. So adjusting yield down, so what we're harvesting now, as we've gotten harvested, we're actually getting real yield numbers coming in. We haven't just been no more estimates anymore. And so lower yields, less supply, less production.
I think for sure what we need to be talking about is, budgeting and then financial statements, and making sure that, farmers understand what's going on in their business. And the financial statements do that. I mean, enterprise budget is one form of that, but having your balance sheet, your cash flow, your income statement, all those are going to also help you, right? And they help you in if you're taking it to your bank, you have an idea of here's everything that's going on in my business. And so being able to show them a plan that goes through your enterprise budget, your financial statements, and how that impacts ratios is going to make you more financially stable in their eyes. And so I think that's really important that producers need to know, is that all these statements, these financial information is important to know.
Sweet potatoes are a pretty big deal here in Mississippi. We love them and love to eat them. But what are the economic factors in play for those who grow them? You might be surprised.
The annual sweet potato crop in Mississippi is a unique aspect of this state. Calhoun and surrounding counties in the north of the state grow the vast majority. The city of Vardaman calls itself the sweet potato capital of the world. So, what makes this particular crop so special here? I spoke with MSU Extension Specialist Dr. Lauren Harvey to get deeper into the details.
So one of the interesting things about sweet potatoes, one of the unique aspects of sweet potatoes is almost all of the operations are vertically integrated. It's different from traditional row crops. You grow the crop, you harvest the crop, you end up selling it, and it gets sent to a grain elevator. Well, all of the storage in this case, and therefore all of the risk, is maintained by the sweet potato grower. So you grow the crop, you seek out customers, then you wash and sell the crop on demand, and then you ship that crop out to those people. But you're maintaining possession and ownership of the crop that entire time. And so a portion of that crop then gets saved from one year to the next to be used as seed for the next year. So they're completely vertically integrated operations, and therefore the risk is maintained by the grower throughout that whole time. So I like to say that growing the potatoes is really only half the battle. You then have to store it, you have to find your customers, you then have to be able to effectively wash and pack it. It's a lot more than just growing the potatoes. So the normal buyers of sweet potatoes would be your large grocery chains, Walmart, H-E-B, Publix, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, you name it, those kind of larger grocery stores. And then another very large consumer would be, and we call that fresh market. And then another large consumer would be processing. So you have companies that make sweet potato chips, sweet potato French fries, and those would be companies like McCain Foods, Lamb Wesson, J.R. Simplot, those kind of companies. And those two market groups really make up the vast majority of sweet potato sales, fresh market and then processing. And then there's about 80, I want to say, at least for the state of Mississippi, it changes depending on where you are in the country, but Mississippi, about 85% of our crop is consumed as fresh market product, and the vast majority of that is consumed domestically. And then the remaining 15% or so is through processing of some sort.
According to the Mississippi Sweet Potato Council, the best potatoes should be firm, round, with fairly even coloring. Store them in a cool, dry, ventilated space. Don't refrigerate them. Cook them with the skin on to preserve nutrition, and use a stainless steel knife to cut them.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets. Mike?
Thanks, Zach. Timber is one of Mississippi's commodities and generating nearly $1.5 billion in revenue. Loggers have to harvest that timber, and one who does it on average better than the rest is Logger of the Year. And this year, that's P&M Timber in Carthage.
It's been a long, hard road, a lot of hard work, and it's really something to be proud of.
It's like a dream come true, I think, for Mark. He deserves it, in my opinion. He's a great logger, great businessman.
For more than 2 decades, P&M Timber in central Mississippi has played a vital role in delivering one of the state's most readily available and valuable commodities to the marketplace, timber. It hasn't always been easy. There have been some serious obstacles along the way. But Mark and Penny Wilkerson, she's the P, he's the M in P&M, have carefully, creatively, and effectively steered their company to the top of the mountain.
We got a goal of so many loads we want to haul, so we know what our job is when we get here every day. And if something breaks, there'll be two working on it to get it back going. And the way I set my job up, I keep two loaders side by side at all times. And that way, if one goes down, we still hauling wood because the other one's loading. Same way with skidders. If one breaks down, I still got another one pulling wood. And same way with cutters. If one breaks down, I got another one to go until we get that one fixed. So it makes it work pretty good.
I remember one year when the mill blew up, and that we didn't know what we were going to do, but they worked it out. We were able to haul somewhere else. We've had some pretty serious challenges over the years, but you just have to go with it. If you manage your money well and everything, I guess you can hopefully get through any challenges that come about.
In a couple of years, 60-year-old Mark will likely retire. The two of them like to fish and even have the state record for flathead catfish, 89 pounds, 8 ounces. And they love to travel. He's a sucker for westerns, and they may sell the company and move to the wide open spaces of Wyoming. But for now, he manages the woods and she manages the office. Between them, P&M is averaging 30 loads a day and keeping themselves and several employees busy full-time, felling trees and filling up logging trucks.
He started at the bottom and worked his way up, so he knows every aspect of it. And I think it takes that. I think you have to have the knowledge of everything, how to operate the equipment, how to get the trucks in here, how to, mechanical skills.
Mark has done just such a great job of, just checking all the boxes for BMPs, best management practices. As an insurance professional, I'm always looking for, kind of the safety aspect of each job. His jobs are clean. All of the equipment is well maintained. He keeps everything spaced out apart. All of his guys are wearing high-vis clothing. He's got a first aid kit that's not even a first aid kit, it's a first aid station that is just amazing. Just little things like that, have really just made him kind of jump off the page. And then, going beyond just what you see out here in the woods and the stuff that he's doing, Mark's community involvement, the amount of money and time that he invests in local charities and churches and organizations, really just kind of highlights that going to the next level rather than just coming out here and doing your job. He's giving back. So that was part of it.
I've dealt with a lot of different loggers over my years in forestry, and I see the type of person that Mark is. Him and his family, Penny and the boys, Chad and Jim, all part of this business, and his crew's been with him all these years. He's always being innovative in the way he approaches the job. He doesn't just come out here and start logging. He walks the track a lot of times with a forester under the harvest plan. They decide what needs to be done. He's always upgrading his equipment. We went and got the self-leveling track cutter. He's got the bogie skidder you can put tracks on, low impact equipment that he can work when most people are at home. He can still be out here working as long as the roads hold up for the trucks.
Right now it's tough for these loggers. I mean, it's tough for anyone in our industry, but the loggers really face the most challenges because they're at the beginning stages of it. I mean, the cost of equipment has gone up significantly, the cost of just labor in general, and so the loggers have had to adapt. And Mark has done a really good job of adapting and staying on his toes.
Retired forester Mike Bell is Mark's best friend. They've known each other since before P&M got its start 21 years ago. If anyone knows Mark's dedication and character, and that of Mark's wife Penny too, it's him.
He wants everything to be right. Like I said, he's got a wonderful crew. He treats them wonderful. They treat him wonderful. They all just like family. And I wouldn't be scared to say anybody out here would help him do anything, and he'd help them do anything. They just that tight.
At times, Mark is a man of few words, humbly putting his best foot forward one work boot at a time. He knows there's still a lot of work to be done before he rides off into the sunset with Penny, to whom he gives a lot of credit for P&M's success over the years. She couldn't be prouder of him.
He is one of the best loggers around, and he deserves that award. And of course, I'm his wife, so I'm partial. It's a dream come true for him. I'm so proud to see him recognized in this way. I'm glad he got to see it before he got out of the business. So I'm just thrilled for him.
I want to be remembered as a crew that done a great job, and they done everything they said they'd do. I always have done my best. So here I am.
Congratulations to P&M Timber. Well, next week, a timely story about a holiday treat, the Half Moon Bay Pumpkin Festival.
It's the Super Bowl of giant pumpkins, also known for great fun. Then we'll skip around the world for a history lesson. Turns out world records have been broken 30 times since the 80s.
Some joke about witchcraft, others the giant pumpkin equivalent of I'm going to Disneyland. Pumpkins in Half Moon Bay, that's next time on Farm Week.
Remember, if you missed a story, look for past episodes of Farm Week on our website at farmweek.tv.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next week. Thanks for watching.